Alright, Red Belly here, and this one is from the Forge. Terminators used to be terrifying. 2-up armor save, 4-up invulnerable, slow, elite, relentless. You walked on the tabletop and you felt it. You knew you were going to have a bad day. They were the benchmark of the elite. But now, Gravis armor. They have a toughness 6. They have 3 wounds, just like a Terminator. They have some very fine weaponry with a high output. They have a strong board presence. And there's even flying ones that have a really precise way to deep strike. So I can't help but wonder, are Gravis slowly replacing the Terminators? Not the lore, not the art, not the models, but on the tabletop. Let's look at this. Okay, let's talk about the identity of these two. Terminator armor, tactical dreadnought armor, the pinnacle of infantry personal armor. Ancient relic suits, veterans only, first company, elite shock troops. Didn't matter if they were with the Thunderhammer or the Stormbolters, you knew they were there. Gravis, heavy infantry, bulky frames, tougher than standard Marine, but they're not Terminators. There was a separation there. But on the table, is that line being blurred? Let's talk about the movement. Standard Gravis is movement of 5. Terminator's movement of 5. Sweet. Makes sense. Heavy armor. Can't work as well. Totally respectable. But there are those Inceptors that can fly. So Jump Pack Assault Intercessor has a movement of 12. The Jump Pack Gravis armor has a movement of 10. Okay. 2 inches shorter. Makes sense. Heavy armor. I get it. But this is where it gets a little weird. Any other item, any other unit that wanted to do a deep strike has that minimum gap of 9 inches to come down. And yet, Inceptors don't just deep strike. They deep strike with precision. They get up nice and close and personal real quick and makes a devastating impact on the field with those twin-linked guns, whether it be the plasma or the bolters. Powerful stuff. So they are better inserting into themselves in the game than Terminators. Better than normal assault intercessors with jetpacks. Even better than the Epic Heroes from Raven Guard. So let me get this straight. The heavy armor frame, it's almost as fast. It's more durable than a normal infantry. And now it's more precise than the lighter ones. Really? I mean, heavy really should trade speed for durability. No, there's 2 inches, but deep striking, weird. Light should be more about the speed. Makes sense, they move quicker. Precision should be to the specialists. Gravis specialists? I don't think so. So when heavy units like the Gravis units get all 3, obviously aggressors and stuff don't, identity starts getting a bit blurred on what's going on at the table. Alright, so now we're going to talk about survivability of these 2 armor types. We're going to get a little analytical, so bear with me. We make the assumption that the Terminators are more survivable because of their invulnerable save. It's very handy to have. So let's have a look. Terminators. Toughness 5, 2-up armor save, 4-up invulnerable save, 3 wounds. Pretty good. Gravis. Toughness 6, 3-up armor save, no invulnerable, 3 wounds. Okay. So let's start off with that. If they're being shot at with light weaponry that have no AP, a 2-up invulnerable save is always going to be better. Boom. Full stop. Terminators win. No doubt. But show me a weapon in 40k that has no AP on it. It's very rare. The -2s and -3s are getting higher and higher. Okay. That makes it interesting. Let's come back to that. Because also, the weaponry is also getting higher in strength. Now this is where it really matters between the Terminators and the Gravis armor. Higher strength weapons will hurt more against lower toughness units. So let's say strength 6 weapon, it could be 7, but we'll stay with 6 because it makes it nice and easy with math. So strength 6 weapon is going to wound a Terminator on a 3 up. It's going to wound a Gravis armor on a 4 up. So we already see that the Gravis armor is going to get wounded less. That's a big thing. If the strength 6 weapon was 0 AP, great. Terminator is going to win with a 2 up armor save more than often than not. But they're still getting wounded more often, so they have to roll more saves. Right. So if it's low AP, high strength, Gravis actually wins out. They get wounded less. Less wounds to roll, less saves to make. Pretty simple math. But now we'll combine the AP and the strength weapons. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting. If it was a las cannon, of course, strength 14 is going to be wounding both of these. We've got las cannon. Anything is strength 14 or higher, it's going to be wounding on a 2+, both of them. Doesn't matter of the toughness there. Boom, they're gone. Usually that also means that the AP is pretty high. That Gravis guy's gone. He's not going to be healthy because he probably won't have an armor save, or at best 6 up. Terminator still has his 4 up and vulnerable save. Huzzah. So very high weapon strength. Terminators come out on top with their invulnerable save. But again, if it's a strength 6 weapon with a high AP, Gravis still wins. It's getting wounded less. So that is where the big gap is, I think, when you talk about who's more survivability on it. Terminators have the better save, yes. But they get wounded more with a higher range, higher strength weapons. That doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't feel like how a Terminator should survive. I think this is where we need to work out that identity between the two. Terminators do well against las cannons, but not against strength 6 weapons compared to Gravis. Think about it. Now I want to talk about the toughnesses specifically because it's always confused me. It blows my mind how a Gravis armor, which is not meant to be tactical dreadnought armor, gives a +2 to toughness, where a Terminator only gives a +1. Why? It's tactical dreadnought armor. It's the relic, elite, ancient pattern, the icon of Space Marine assault. But it isn't the toughest infantry anymore. Okay, so that sort of makes me feel, alright, are they as elite as the Gravis? Or now the hierarchy is the Gravis armor is more important than the Terminator armor. Just want to point out a little side rant for you. Death Guard for years having toughness 6 meant something. It was their disgusting resilience to give them the ability that, it's very hard to defeat. Disgusting resilient, grinding durability, hard to shift. That was their icon. But now you've got heavy infantry, which in every faction that's running around, also have toughness 6. So no one feels that special toughness. Doesn't make Death Guard bad. Just starts making their uniqueness or their character a bit more flat. And do we want that? Okay, so we talked about toughness, talked about saves. Let's talk about what they actually do on the table. So we're going to just zoom out a second and have a look at not just Gravis versus Terminators, but we're going to talk about Gravis rolls versus Terminator rolls. Here we go. First up, we want the tank killers. How do we take tanks down? Generally, that's an eradicator with the melters. Makes sense. Gravis bodies, high damage, strong presence. Need midfield anchors? Heavy intercessors. Tough, battle line, reliable. The aggressors, very handy in a melee punch with their twin-linked power fists. High volume attacks, same amount of attacks as a Thunderhammer, reliable output. So, what is the Terminator's job? Let's have a look at Assault Terminators. They used to be the apex melee brick. When they landed, you panicked. So all the lightning claws, Thunderhammers would go, uh-oh. Thunderhammer, Storm Shield, Elite Shock Infantry, bad day. But now, we'll go back to the aggressors. They've got their attacks, so they've got their flamers, which auto hits, or they've got their bolters with missiles and stuff like that. But now they've also got twin-linked power fist attacks, which are exactly the same as a Thunderhammer, but twin-linked. So that would mean more chances to wound, so more consistency, and still have the Toughness 6 durability of a Gravis. So, okay, I'm not saying Assault Terminators are bad, because I love them. I run them. But I'm asking whether they're still irreplaceable. That's the difference. Okay, so here's the real issue. Internal competition is healthy, right? Internal replacement is not. We want to see units stake out a reason why you want to take them. They should have uniqueness to about them. I want them to do this role. But if the Gravis are durable, almost as mobile, sometimes have more precision in getting on the battlefield, and overlap battle roles, Terminators are feeling like a legendary unit more than the elite unit that they should be. So when did that happen? What do they need to do to become relevant again? Okay. We talked about toughness, we talked about how they're resilient and stuff, but how do we actually give the identity back to Terminators without having to nerf the Gravis? Mind you, side rant, maybe drop their toughness. How do we make the Terminators that unique icon on the table, not just the lore? They got a 4-up and vulnerable save. Okay, good. Don't really need to do much about that. Maybe raise their toughness up to 6 to match a Gravis army. Then can you imagine how scary they would be? Toughness 6, 2-up, 4-up. Whew. Maybe their mechanics need to change. Maybe their special rules actually needs to do something rather than I get to reroll against Oath of the Moment, or I get to try and do a battle shock test, which has not a big impact on the game. Maybe they do need a precision, the teleport homers should be allowed them to teleport within 6 inches. I don't know. Mobility should have some trade-offs though. If Gravis are slow, they shouldn't be able to do precision things. Durability for a Terminator needs to be the remaining defining factor for them, right? They are the brick that will not move. But they're not being used on the table. Very expensive. They don't need to be efficient. Not everything needs to be efficient. We want to have some chaos on the field. No pun intended. But some things like Terminators need to have that iconic status. The Land Raider is a good example. Another iconic model. Nobody used it for a very long time. They messed around with it, they've dropped the points. Now it's very hard to find a Space Marine army without a Land Raider on the table. How do they do that? The Terminators. Should they be on the battlefield? They got new models. They're now the right size, but how do you get them on there? Okay, let's wrap it up. This is where I land. I don't think Gravis are broken, in general. I think flying Gravis is problematic when they can land so close. Big, bulky armor should not be able to have that precision move. I don't think Terminators are bad, but they don't have an identity on the field at the moment. That needs to change. Give them something to make people go, I need to have this brick on the table again. When heavy units are tougher than Terminator armor, that feels wrong. Yes, I know the argument is between the invulnerable save and stuff, but again, we talked about it. Having a higher toughness means you're less likely to get wounded, so you don't have to rely on that save. Precision moves, especially with jetpacks, should belong to precision units. Bulky frames are not that. It just doesn't make sense to me. When you start overlapping roles, so your aggressors, your combat, funny enough, they hit harder. You got the shooting eradicators. They all move the same and stuff like that. What reason do you bring a Terminator onto the field? When does the elite unit of a Terminator no longer feel like an elite unit on the table. Okay, so that's how I see Terminators and Gravis at the moment. Are they going to be replaced? Time will tell. Let me know what you think in the comments. And in the meantime, this one is from the Forge. Until we talk to each other next time, be good to each other and have a good night. See ya.